Nam mô Đức Bổn Sư Bụt Thích Ca Mâu Ni. Con kính bạch quý thầy, kính bạch quý sư cô, toàn thể đại chúng.
Respected dear Sangha,
Hôm nay là ngày
today
2
is the 16th of February.
như thường lệ vào
As usual,
chúng ta có một ngày thực tập
we have a day of practicing together for the weekend.
con rất là biết ơn đại chúng.
I'm very happy and in gratitude for everyone to be here, and I see that today is
thời tiết ưu đãi cho chúng ta rất là nhiều. Ông trời rất là thương chúng ta.
the nature has been very loving to us, supportive,
Rất là đẹp.
giving us a beautiful day.
Thì những ngày trước
And the other day,
có rất là nhiều mưa và
we have
thời tiết không
had a lot of winds and
nhưng hôm nay
rains,
giống như trời rất là
and
thương
so
mọi
it's
người.
been
Việc mọi người
nature has
được
been
sống
very
ở
loving
đây,
to us and the
nó một chặng
plants,
đường rất là khó.
and it's
Nhưng nếu như chúng ta đến đây mà trời mưa
very hard to have rain. And when we have a lot of rain here,
rất là uổng. Thì chúng
and
ta còn đi thường hành,
but it will be a pity if we
trời
have
mưa
too much
quá
rain,
khó
because
để
there's
xuống đường.
no way for us to walk. So today we can walk and we can get in touch with
Và
our
chúng ta có
steps
cơ hội nhìn được những cái khung cảnh
and
đẹp,
enjoying
tươi
the
sáng,
nature and the
đẹp trời tại
surrounding in the morning.
Và công năng âm thanh sáng hôm nay cũng được đẹp như
And this
vậy.
morning it was
Không
like
biết âm
that.
thanh có
It's,
được đẹp như trời hôm nay không?
is it as beautiful as
Nếu
today?
như âm thanh tốt thì xin mọi người nở hoa.
Is the sound
Con
good?
rất là biết ơn ban âm thanh rất là nhiều.
I'm very grateful for the sound team. And please, if
Thì con
you
thấy mình
can hear me, bloom flowers for the sound team. And I feel very in gratitude for the sound team.
đó là một sự thật.
And that is the reality.
Vì hôm nay con có mặt ở đây cùng với quý thầy của sư cô, cùng với tăng thân. Cần nhìn những điều kiện đó thôi là con thấy mình đủ nuôi dưỡng mình, đủ cho mình cái nguồn năng lượng hạnh phúc. Hiện giờ ở Syria và Thổ Nhĩ Kỳ thì cái điều kiện thiên tai nó xảy ra làm cho cuộc sống ở đó nó rất là khủng hoảng, rất là nhiều khổ đau. Cái số lượng người tử vong cũng rất là cao và cái số lượng mà bị gặp cái đó cũng rất là khó khăn.
Sorry, there's some technical difficulty with the translation.
Cho nên cái điều kiện sinh hoạt của họ cũng gặp rất là nhiều khó khăn. Cho nên chúng ta ngồi đây
And so
được đến đây đó là một
there's been a lot of places where the nature has not been forgiving to the people there. But here we are very lucky. And so if we know how to be grateful for that simple thing, we can enjoy our life. In the past, there was a sister sharing, and in a Dharma sharing, and she shared that in the morning when she wakes up, and usually there's a poem. Gatha. Waking up, there's 24 hours, brand new 24 hours before me. And so in the monastery, the brothers and sisters usually practice that. And it's not only limited to brothers and sisters who practice in the monastery. We see that when we we can have the a vow, should have a vow that when we have a unsatisfaction or dissatisfactory happens. No, I just unmuted. And so we need to practice in a way that each second and we can be watered by the good conditions. And those good conditions, we vow to practice with all those around us. And so then immediately we have the and so I see that we're very lucky and fortunate, and these are the conditions that we have been given each day. I see, I remember there's a poem, it's very short, but I don't remember, and so I'll read it to everybody. Is everything okay? Every day I clean the trash in my mind. I thought it was gone, but as after hanging out for a bit, the wind blows and the trash reappear just like the old days. So usually we are very diligent. We are diligent in the practice to clean up what the trash in our mind. And sometimes we think that, oh, it's done, it's clean. But sometimes in a day, just a breeze blows by. Then in us, there's the hatred and anger and blaming arise in our mind. And so these are the things that I see is very natural, very usual in life. Why is that? Because we were born in this life. Usually, we cannot avoid these breezes, these conditions. And so in the practice of Plum Village, in recent time, I listened to a talk by Thầy, our teacher. He said there are three points that we practice in Plum Village. Is in diligence, present moment, and dwelling happily. So we have to practice every day, every moment, every hour, to be present every minute, every second. We have to have practice that we can practice with our mind, practice with our perceptions. Because sometimes we think we have a perception that we are done. Because of that perception, it's just a light breeze causes us to be swayed away, to falter. So we have to be careful. There's nothing that is done, really. And every time, every practice is a condition for us to be happy. And so in meditation, there's a master said, one lay friend asked him, "What do you do every day?" And the Zen master said, "I wash my clothes, chop the woods, cook the rice, wash the vegetables." And the guest was like, "But in the town, they also do the same thing." And so, what's the difference? There's no difference. And the Zen master said, "Yes, there is a difference. The difference is each action, each movement, there is our presence there. There is happiness there. There's joy. They all carry the peace and happiness. And so if we stay in town, we also do the same things and having the capacity to generate joy and also have enough conditions for us to have peace and joy. But it is because in life we are easy to be dragged away by other conditions. By these things, maybe the washing the vegetables, washing our clothes, and so on, they drag us away. We lose ourselves. We are not present with them. We're not the master, but they are our masters. And so that's why we don't have the moments of freedom, moments of peace. Sometimes we live and we think that we are the master, we are in control of these conditions. But if we look deeply, then these conditions have been in control of us for a long time. And so we are going in circles, we are spinned in circles and cause sufferings. In the time of there's a Zen stories, meditation stories in the Tang dynasty of China. There was a person very close to a Zen master, and the two of them usually share with each other in the practice of the sutras and other practices. And one day, Phật Ấn is the Zen master, and he went to visit, but he wasn't there. The Zen master wasn't there, and so the guest, his friend, he left a note with the message to praise the Buddha for great compassion, great wisdom, who stands solidly in front in the face of wind and storm of life. And his meaning is that he too can do that. He too has the capacity to stand solidly in front of in the face of the strong winds of life. And so when the Zen master came back, he asked a little monk to bring just 2 words to his friend. It means "hạ phong" or low wind. But in the more worldly translation is farting, basically. And so when the little monk brought it to his friend, he wasn't happy. He was angry. It's like, why I praised the Buddha in such a way, as beautiful as that, as wonderful as that, but then you gave me two words, low wind. And so he came over to visit the Zen master. And so the Zen master said, because if the winds cannot touch, if 8 winds, all the kinds of winds cannot befall you, then why does just 2 words, low wind, can make you falter, make you angry? And so in life we understand, we study, it's only one thing. But we practice them. We generate the energy of peace and true happiness. That is the true matter. If we study and we understand but we don't practice, then we don't have anything yet. Because we understand all the winds of the world can touch us. But if we don't practice, if we don't let that permeate us, then the winds of life will always blow us and make us fall side to side. And so what are those 8 winds? I believe that in our life, we have all met these winds. Unless those who are not born yet. So if you are born, then we'll meet things like that. Even the Buddha himself. Even he has compassion and wisdom, so that's why he was able to be peace before these winds. And so I believe that not any of us have escaped being spun around by these winds when they come. And so what are those winds? One is gain, personal gain, meaning losing and gaining. Then praising and criticism. Pride and shame, or happiness and suffering. So I would like to draw on the board. So that means to gain. That is compliments or praise. The 2 words on the high above. So the first word is gain, second word is praise, third word is win. Win is like when you have fame, or when you're on the rise in terms of fame. And then happiness. On the bottom you have loss, criticism, as being shamed by somebody, or just being shamed in general. And then ho is suffering. And the middle line is kind of Yodom. Yodom is is being moved. So the upper arrow is pointing up. Is said being moved, being swayed. The line goes right in the middle is peace or ease. So this is the 8 winds. There are 4 pairs. These are the opposite pairs. Between gain, loss, criticism, praise, shame, and fame, happiness, and suffering. So there are 4 conditions that bring you happiness and 4 conditions bring you suffering. But these 4 conditions that bring happiness, they still cause, they still stir our mind. So if we want peace, if we want calm and equanimity, then we need to practice in a way that it can bring us peace in the face of these 8 winds. The pair of gaining and losing in our life is that is very faint, very fickle. It's like we are in a business, or if you do something, and we have profits. We have gain. But that gain, it contains in itself a risk. And that is why it contains unease, competition, discrimination, and jealousy. And so we lose a lot of things in that. And I remember there was a story in Mexico, in a village, fishing village, by the ocean. And so this gentleman, he will wake up in the morning every morning, and so he goes to the ocean to fish himself a fish. And so when he has a fish, he returns home, and just coincidentally, there was a merchant. He sees the fisherman. So why don't you get more fish? There's a lot of fish here, so you have more. Why do you go back home so early? The fisherman said, "Well, I just fish one fish is enough for my meal today." And but then the merchant asked, "Why do you go home early? What for?" And the fisherman said, "I go home to be present for my children, my child, and cook for my family. The rest of the time, I sing with my friends, and I sleep and rest." And so that is a life that is enough for me to be happy, to be free. So this merchant has a very business mind, and so he gave the fisherman some advices. Said, "I'm a merchant. I'm a very successful merchant. I will show you the way to be rich." And so the fisherman was compassionate to listen, and let the merchant express himself, all of his ideas and so on. And so the merchant said, "Just keep fishing, a lot of fish. And then you sell in the market, and you get a lot of money. Then you hire boats to fish for you, and then you keep selling fish in the markets, and then doing wholesale for other places. Then you buy more boats, sell more fish, buy bigger boats. But so you have more money." Then the fisherman asked, "Why do you want to have more money?" The merchant said, "Well, because then when you grow old, you can buy a house by the ocean and you can rest." And then the fisherman in Mexico, he said, "But I already live in such a beautiful oceanic places, and I enjoy the present life, and I have peace and happiness. Why do I have to sacrifice such a long time until I grow old to do something like that? Why can't I just do it now?" And so the gain, the profits in life is also a condition to give us happiness. It gives us enough condition that when we are sick, it can give us means to pass by. It's not a bad condition, it's a good condition. But how do we use it? In which purpose do we put it to in our life? That is the important thing. And there are many people when they're gaining something, but they are not aware of it, and so that causes them consequences. It's like when they have profits, they have money, they don't know how to use the money so that it can be beneficial for their life, for their body, and for their mind. And spending money in the unnecessary ways in life, and it can bring us suffering. Many of us spend a lot of money in a wasteful way and doing unnecessary things like drugs, smoking, and just having fun. And then it brings us suffering. It brings us bad conditions. And so we know that in gain there is loss. So when we have a lot of money, then suddenly people come and take it. and we are empty-handed. And for sure, that is suffering. That is the essential condition in our life. When we gain, we're happy. When we lose, then we are unhappy. And so in the practice, in our practice, in the teaching of Buddhism, then we need to do in such a way that we see when we lose, we can still keep the state of peace and ease without suffering. And so in life, in spiritual life, there are many stories to lead us, to show us the wisdom and so that we can have the right insight. So there is this elder lady. She usually goes to the temple. So when she returns home, she forgot a jacket or a t-shirt. Basically her clothes. And so her helper forgot to take it home. So then on the midway home, she realized that she forgot her robe. And so she asked her helper to go and get it. But if someone touches her clothes already, just leave it, don't take it. And so when she got her robe back, she was thinking okay, it's been touched by somebody, so I'll just sell it so that I can have money to donate to the temple. So when she was able to do that, she was quietly gratitude for her helper, because her helper actually forgot the robe. Then he went to sell it, but no one wanted to buy it. But then she's the one who actually went to. I lost it during the story. But basically, she was happy to raise money for the temple. We're also raising money here for the new brothers' residence in Solidity Hamlet. So instead of reprimanding her helper for forgetting her robe, she was actually happy. Because it was forgotten there, so she bought it back and then used that money to donate to the temple. And so we need to practice in such a way that we can generate in such a way that we still have good conditions, nourishing conditions to ourselves. If we don't have losses, then it's more difficult for us to see into our own mind, to see what it is right now. If we live in a condition where we keep gaining, we always gain, then when losses come to us, it's harder to accept. And so that's why there are those when there is when they have losses, they are they're in great despair, and so they go and seek for the last way is to sacrifice their own body, because they cannot take it. So they will jump from the bridge or from a building to seek death because they cannot handle it. So in our practice, in our daily practice, we need to let go. In Buddhism, there is a view of impermanence. In the gain, there is already impermanence. So it's not gonna last forever. So when we understand impermanence, then when loss comes to us, we're not drowned in suffering. And the second thing is when we have our gains, then we need to know how to use it to nourish ourselves and nourish those around us, knowing to do beneficial things for society. We need to know how to bring our good conditions to help those around us, to cover their losses. But if we have profits or gains and we cannot help people to cover their losses, then and how can people have enough conditions to have like us to be happy? Because sometimes they don't have enough fortunate conditions in life. So to have a great life like we do. So when we have gain, we need to know how to help them. And so when we are in our losses, they can have gratitude to us and they can help us again. And so then regardless, we can be happy because we have watered the seeds in ourselves and in those around us. So we can still have happiness and freedom. And the second condition, the second pair is praising and praising and criticism. Praise and criticism. So I'm sure that in life, when we are praised, when we are complimented, for sure, everyone is fresh. Everyone will be bright and happy, just like the sun this morning. That is natural. Nothing to reject that, to deny it. I don't deny that I feel happy when I'm praised, but I gotta be careful. This praise has the capacity to make us feel happy, but also it has a condition for us to be to fall into a rabbit hole. Because in praise there are praises that are truthful, but also just praises just not very wholehearted, and even there is this personal gain behind these praises. And so praises can give us happiness, but also it can make us fall into a hole, and that means suffering. So sometimes we want to be praised, we want to be complimented upon, and so we spend a lot of time. Like us outside, sometimes we want to be praised. Oh, that lady has a very beautiful dress, or that gentleman has a very beautiful clothes, and so we need to put on good clothes, need to look good, so people can praise us. So we bend our back to work and to earn a lot of money, so that we can go shopping for good fancy clothes and shoes, so we can be praised, we can be complimented by those around us, and having their respect. And sometimes we ask ourselves about these praises, is it necessary? Of course, having preparation for us to look good is a good condition, but don't do that for praises. Don't lose ourselves because of praises. Lose a lot of our efforts and a lot of other conditions, so that we focus on praise. When we are praised, we have a motivation to go forth. That is natural. There are compliments that are truthful and wholehearted, so it's very nourishing. It's like in the monastery after a rains retreat, there are shining light sessions, and in there is flower watering, meaning to point out good qualities, but also there's a practice to point out not so good qualities. And so when the community gives us flowers, then it's very nourishing. Compliments, very nourishing, because one of the reasons for the brothers to practice is to point out the good qualities. to recognize that we have these flowers, to be aware so that we can nourish them, improve them day by day, but also point out trash or compost, not so good qualities, because we love each other on the path. We want to practice, and so we want to point out these compost in us and in others in the community, so we can transform the compost into flowers. And so praising and criticism in this case they are not the conditions to make us suffer. These are the conditions that need to be there to nourish, to transform, and to bring our spiritual life forward. And so in our daily life, we hear about criticism. And we have to have the capacity to look back into our own mind to see that these criticisms, is it real or is it not real? Is it really there? If it is there, then we need to be grateful because they are our teachers. Because there are those who can point out the not yet beautiful qualities in them is a great quality, because no one really dares to speak about our compost. Because when there's an honest speech, then it has a good effect on us. And so we know that we are like that. We like praises and we don't like criticisms. We like to speak good words and loving speech, but don't want to speak badly about anyone. I'm the same. When someone criticizes me or giving me a compost, I also suffer. I'm also sad, and I need to practice. That is why I still survive today. Because if I'm drowned in criticisms, then I would have already given up a long time ago. I don't know if you can understand what I'm saying. It's more like, are you understanding the translator, what he's saying? And so in the pair of criticism and praise, there's a story. I would also like to tell the story just for fun. Because I've been talking too much and speaking a lot. It cannot be compared to a good story. So there was a gentleman. He has a wife, but his wife only has one eye. Of course, a person only has one eye is not very beautiful. And then outside the people, they criticized her. Why is your wife only has one eye? But then he said, I see that your wife is not beautiful. She has two eyes, and one eye, it's just one eye too many. One eye is good enough. One eye is good enough. And sometimes we see that beauty and ugliness is only based on our own perception, our own standard. So we need to practice in a way that we see who we are and what we are doing, how we are doing. If everyone judges us, hey, you're not handsome, then we look into the mirror and we say, oh yeah, I'm not really that handsome. That's it. That's okay. But if they praise, but if they said we're not handsome, and then we said, no, I am pretty handsome, but then we suffer. Then if they criticize us, then we need to see that, oh, if that person stay with us 24 hours a day, they're gonna give us even more criticisms. And of course, if we live with that person day in and day out, there would be even more suffering, because they would be able to see see more of us and even more criticisms for us. And so we feel lucky that we only meet this person for just that one moment or a very short time. But if we think that, oh, I have a lot of good qualities, why don't you see it? You just see these negative qualities, then we suffer. So the simple thing is we just return to ourselves and we see things as they are and accept things just as they are. And we do our best to improve ourselves. So each day we can be better. Then we can be grateful for criticisms, because thanks to them we can advance in our path of practice. Without these conditions, it's hard for us to complete ourselves. If it's just praises, then sometimes we lose ourselves. We don't know who we are anymore. But thanks to the other side, we know more who we are and where we are. And so we just return to reflect on our mind, to see ourselves, to see that, oh, that is the practice. That is get down to the practice, to handle these two winds very simply. And this third pair is Vin and Vin is kind of like fame or glory. We cannot avoid this in our daily life. Glory or fame, everyone wants it. Everyone likes it. Everyone is proud of it, especially in our daily life, and we can obtain. We can marry a beautiful wife or a very talented husband. Very proud. We talk about them all the time. I have a husband like that, who is this person or that person, in this position or that position. Income very high. Very satisfied. And there are parents who are very proud of their children. Like, my child sits on that chair. Every day he does this, he does that. So very satisfied and praises him everywhere they go. And in this life is very impermanent. If we are in a higher place, it's also beneficial for us, for our life, for the life of society. So in our daily life, there is a sentence, I would rather someone who would rather live gloriously or it's better than dying in shame. So it's a Vietnamese saying, don't die in shame. But if we are in a high position, are you sure that we have fame and glory? Some people who are in very high places and positions in life, but they don't have happiness because they are taking advantage of their positions to live for themselves. And that is not glorious. That is not... And so when they pass away, or when they show their true nature, then that becomes shame for themselves and for their families. And so when we have such fame, such in a higher place, what do we do with it? So there's a general. When he was still alive, he was a general, and he was wholehearted, very wholehearted, to complete his mission, to help the people, help his country, to build his country better. And then suddenly one day he was being demoted because of others who wanted to harm him. So then he became a regular soldier, but he was very happy with it. So they asked, when you were a general, so you were very glorious, but now you accept to be a soldier, a common soldier. But then he said, when I was a general, I was wholehearted about being a general. Now I am a common soldier, so I will also be wholehearted as a common soldier. There's no glory or shame here. And so it depends on if we can be satisfied with whatever we do. I come up to share in my Dhamma talk. To me, it's a condition that gives me a lot of, in general, very nervous and not very pleasant. So coming up here is a condition, a chance to nourish one another. It's like our teacher usually said, like cooking, cleaning, sweeping. It's all Dharma talks, just like coming up here. But if you let me cook, then I say I'm more happy to cook than giving a Dhamma talk. And even though giving a Dhamma talk is also cooking, it's also mixing ingredients, this ingredient or that ingredient to make a dish so everyone can enjoy. Even though that's the case, I still see that, to me, my place is the kitchen. And so when I'm up here, I need to practice in such a way that I could go beyond proud and complexes to be present with everyone wholeheartedly, so I can nourish myself and nourish the community. And so my intention is just like that, to come up here. Usually, I usually say, there was a lay friend asked, "You giving a talk today?" I said, "Yes, I'm giving the Dhamma talk, but I'm also a practitioner. I'm also just practicing. It's real. It's really true. I'm also practicing. I'm 42 years old, and I'm still practicing my speech." Outside, just kind of talking outside. We can talk whatever we want to talk about, but up here it's different. It's not easy, and so I feel that when I'm up here, it's more practicing than giving a Dhamma talk, and so I hope that my sharing can nourish and bring good conditions to the community. So this morning I was very grateful. Today is beautiful. It's a beautiful day. Because if the weather is not great and everyone spend their time to go to travel up here and listen to my talk, and my talk it doesn't have much to share, then it's a waste of time for everyone. But if my talk, in case, not very good, then at least you can enjoy the beautiful weather outside. So at least we have 400 acres. So this is a beautiful place. And after the rains, here all the plants are very green and very it's blooming. So everyone can enjoy. It's kind of like to compensate my sharing up here. If it's not nourishing, then please just look outside and enjoy nature outside to and then also can nourish me too. And so the last pair is happiness and suffering. So these conditions, these aforementioned conditions, can also bring us happiness, and this happiness is just regular happiness in life. When we have gains, then we're happy. It's like if mom comes back from the market, she bought us an ice cream or dessert or a cake, biscuit, then suddenly we are happy and very excited. But if we don't have that, these conditions satisfying us, then we're not happy. We suffer. So worldly happiness is very temporary. It's there, and then it would lose. It's like a flower in the wind, and when the wind blows it away, then that flower is lost. So life is like that. Life is very fragile. So I say to myself, I'm also very fragile and very fragile, and that is reality. If I don't practice to have solidity, to have peace, if I don't know how to return to myself and generate happiness and joy, so I can be full of joy, then I'm also fragile. Just a breeze can stir up all the compost in me, all the sufferings in me. That is a condition, a very natural condition. And so, therefore, in our practice of Plum Village, we need to preserve the energy of freedom and happiness and peace. And we need to practice. If we want that, we need to practice. We need to return to our practice. We need to have diligence and concentration. We need to be able to generate mindfulness and concentration and to maintain them solidly and steadily. Because when we have concentration, then all these winds is it's harder for them to sway us. It's like the Zen master, who was a master in poems and literature, but I mean of the Dolongfa. He's a scholar, but in the face of the Zen master, just two words, low wind, or referring to his fart, and it was already enough to stir up his anger. So we understand what we study is only one thing. We need to practice. That's the other thing. We need to taste its the fruit. Like practicing this morning, walking meditation this morning, we need to be able to get in touch with our steps. If we don't have these conditions, then these 8 winds can blow us just like that, and they will knock down all of our efforts and energy, the time that we do research and study, spend all that time to travel here from our homes. And if we don't practice, then we don't have the conditions to be steady and solid in front of these winds. Then it's a waste of time in our life. And so these are the 8 winds. They are like this. But we need to be able to keep our status, our stage of calmness and peace. Then all of these, like the conditions, dissatisfaction that happen to us, they are all the conditions so that we can see ourselves. We can see what we need to do to make it better. It's like building a house. Sometimes we think that, that is already strong enough, safe enough. But then suddenly the wind blows by and the house collapses. But if if that happens and we are not hurt in the rubbles of the collapsed house, then we can learn from it and say, what did I do wrong here? How can I improve the structure of this house and rebuild that house and stronger, better? And so when we stay in that house, we have peace. There's no more fear. But if we don't experience these things, then we cannot see the true quality of life. Can I have a bell, please? Time is almost up. I've been sharing quite a lot, maybe a little too much. And so there's a lot of things I'd like to share with the Sangha. I see it's already 11:15. It's a little overtime. And so I'd like to ask to stop here. There are things that I haven't shared yet, but I think this is enough. Because outside is beautiful, and I don't want take away your time, so that we can all enjoy the nourishing conditions outside. And so before I stop, I like to read a section of written by the Dalai Lama about the conditions of a practitioner. A practitioner passing by many years of practicing, but don't see that doesn't see that he's more simple, he's more humble, or they are more normal since the beginning. Meaning we don't see and get these conditions when we start practicing. Then maybe that person has already gone in the wrong direction. It's lost in the past. If we practice years after year and we see that our life is not as simple, it's not as normal, then we see we haven't really experienced the practice, haven't really gone through these 8 winds. Because if we have gone through them, then we see that this life is more natural, more usual than we think. We know what we need in life. We don't carry too much, to take in too much, to think that these are the must-have conditions. We come here together and practice together to open our eyes to look at the beautiful sky this morning. Yesterday wasn't suddenly like this. It was all winds, all stormy weather and rains. So today, because nature loves us, and we have a beautiful morning like this. And so after this Dhamma sharing session, we can enjoy it. We can be there for it, so that we can be nourished. Instead of so if something I share up here that wasn't so good, then to compensate that, you have the beautiful nature and the monastery. Thank you for listening.